US Second Lady Usha Vance has broken her silence on why she has chosen to remain Hindu. Earlier, remember, her husband, the US Vice President JD Vance, had expressed hope that she may one day convert to Christianity. Sharing insights on their interfaith marriage in a recent interview, Usha Vance reportedly said she grew up in a stable Hindu household and never felt the same need to seek a different faith that shaped her husband's spiritual journey. Revealing why the church worked for him, she said JD Vance found stability through faith and organized religion. Usha's comments come after JD Vance, remember, previously said he hoped his wife might one day be moved by the Christian faith in the same way that he was. However, Usha Vance reportedly said many people misunderstood those remarks. She dismissed suggestions reportedly that her husband is actively trying to convert her. And joining his wife on the interview to CBS Sunday Morning, JD Vance opened up about his spiritual journey, in fact, saying that he grew up in a non-traditional household. He said he felt like a revolving door of people coming into his life with frequent changes in caregivers, including his parents and grandparents. He described his youth as marked by movement and chaos, adding that it led him to search for something more rooted and stable in his adult life. The US Vice President faced massive backlash after he said he believed in the Christian gospel and hoped his wife would eventually come to see it the same way. He made these remarks while responding to an audience question at a rally in Mississippi last year. Last week, at the US-Iran peace talks in Switzerland, remember, JD Vance reportedly joked that over the past 3 months, there have been only 2 important people in his life. His wife, who is an Indian, and the other, the Pakistan Army chief. Listen to this.
I have joked that I have 2 very, very important people in my life, an Indian and a Pakistani. The Indian is my wife, and the Pakistani is Field Marshal Munir. And I've probably talked to Field Marshal Munir more than I've talked to anybody else over the last 3 months.
Shifting focus now, the United Nations has accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza by deliberately targeting Palestinian children. A new UN inquiry saying Israeli authorities and security forces intentionally killed children during the war. Actions that it says amount to genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes in Gaza, as well as war crimes in the West Bank. The findings coming from the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry. The investigation examined alleged violations against Palestinian children since the Israel-Hamas war started. This was in October 2023, remember, October 7, 2023. According to the Commission, children accounted for around 30% of those killed in the Gaza war. The report states that between October 7, 2023 and October 7, 2025, at least 20,179 children lost their lives, representing nearly 1/3 of the overall death toll. The Commission says Palestinian children were deliberately targeted and killed during the war, including after a ceasefire came into effect in October 2025.
The Commission found indisputable evidence with regards to the deliberate, targeted killing of Palestinian children, including since the October 2025 ceasefire, the use of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, including use of sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian children.
The inquiry further stating that Israeli forces continued using high payload munitions and wide area effect weapons in densely populated residential areas despite mounting child casualties. The Commission says the scale of the child deaths indicates such attacks were intentional. Not just that, the report also says repeated displacement, widespread military attacks, and shortages of aid, food, and medicine severely damaged children's health and development in Gaza, leading to preventable deaths and long-term trauma. It adds that attacks on healthcare and reproductive facilities affected newborn survival rates, while nearly all children in Gaza now require psychological support. The United Nations says more than 1 million children urgently need psychological and social support. According to UN officials, 96% of children believe death is imminent. Imagine that. Around 61% suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, 38% from depression, 41% from anxiety. These are children we are talking about. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, the Commission documented a sharp rise in violence by the Israeli settlers against Palestinian children. It also reported evidence of torture, including sexual and gender-based violence. During mass arrests and detention, basically. The report says Palestinian children, particularly boys, faced systematic mistreatment, including forced stripping, beatings, food deprivation, allegedly. The Commission concluded that such treatment constituted crimes against humanity. Israel rejected the findings. Israel's mission in Geneva, in fact, called the UN report sham, saying that every child deserves protection, and accusing the inquiry of ignoring what it described as the brutal tactics of Hamas. Israel also argued that the report failed to provide context regarding the constant threat faced by its security forces in the West Bank. Palestinians and Hamas demanded accountability, meanwhile, after the release of the UN inquiry. Listen in.
We want actual implementation on the ground by putting those criminals on trial for the war crimes and genocide they committed against this unarmed population.
The UN report reaffirming that the occupation committed genocide against Palestinian children in the Gaza Strip during the war on Gaza is further evidence of the scale of the genocide committed by the occupation.
A controversy that began with concerns over animal welfare has reportedly escalated into a major corruption investigation in Malaysia. Malaysian authorities are probing whether millions of dollars linked to the transfer of 3 endangered elephants to Japan were diverted away from government accounts, reportedly, triggering serious questions about how the deal was handled. Malaysia's Anti-Corruption Commission has launched a formal investigation into the relocation of 3 Asian elephants from a zoo in the Malaysian state of Perak to a zoo in Osaka, Japan. Investigators are reportedly examining allegations that payments connected to the transfer never reached Malaysian government coffers. The claims involving transactions worth nearly $12.7 million reportedly, and several individuals allegedly linked to the arrangement. The anti-corruption agency is saying it will scrutinize the Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability Ministry, the Wildlife and National Parks Department, and agents involved in moving the animals. Officials reportedly are trying to determine whether corruption, misconduct, or abuse of power played any role in that transfer. The Malaysian Commission reportedly saying, meanwhile, that the inquiry remains at an early stage. The investigation follows a complaint, basically, from a Malaysian wildlife rights group. Lawyers representing the group alleging that money linked to the relocation bypassed official government channels and instead went to private individuals. They acknowledge that the accusation originated from a whistleblower and remains unproven. Public outrage in Malaysia has reportedly already been growing over the elephants' relocation and alleged mistreatment, with calls for the elephants to be returned to Malaysia reportedly growing as well. Asian elephants are classified as endangered, remember, making any international transfer highly sensitive. Osaka Zoo, meanwhile, saying reportedly the animals are adapting well, while Malaysian authorities maintain that any decision on their return would require a formal review and evidence of wrongdoing.